Yeah, so I'm Andrew from On the Spot. I'm the CEO, and I'm joined also by my colleague Ross here, who's our Chief of Business Development. Many of you have probably spoken with
Woohoo.
him before. He's our uh, the man who's hitting the phones.
Making the connections and making friends and talking to everyone. Yeah.
Mhm. So welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all here. Yeah, so today is uh, uh, Virtual Tours Part 2, a step-by-step guide, how to create your own virtual tour literally right now for free. And so what we're going to be doing here today is this webinar is part 2 of a 3-part series. Now, the first part was an introduction to virtual tours, especially aimed at museums. So what are the capabilities of virtual tours? Why are they important? Why are they helpful to museums now, especially during the time of COVID and stuff? This one will be step-by-step guide. The third one will be advanced techniques. What we'll be showing you today is just a simple, just very just the very basic tour that you can put together, but it's actually quite impressive. Something you could make, and that we'll be going through it, recreating one from scratch, more or less, in about hopefully about 20 minutes, and it should be pretty straightforward. Now the third one is a variety of other techniques that we'll be showcasing, that we're developing, and we will be really excited to be showing you as well. Really how to punch up your virtual tours, and also some more ideas for different approaches to them. We'll be showcasing hopefully a downtown Vancouver outdoor walking tour. And yeah, so Justin, so if anyone has any questions, yeah, you can just go ahead and ask. And I can't see them on my screen, but Justin will be messaging them, who's our one of my other colleagues, will be messaging them to me. So don't hesitate to ask, and I can kind of go through them as they come up. So first, we'll just start off by a very quick recap of the last one, specifically the terminology of what we'll be looking at today. Once you have the vocabulary, it becomes easier to understand, what we'll be talking about, really, and also to kind of grasp the concepts. After that, we'll talk about picking a camera, the pros and cons of the 3 different kinds that you can use, and you probably have one already in your pocket. Uh,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, 3 will just be some tips on shooting, how to go about doing it, and then picking. And then once you have your panorama photos, then it's a matter of going through the software, and picking a software. Now, there's many different options for that, and we've just picked one. A simple one for today. And then we will go ahead and make a virtual tour of the Missioner House Museum in Lacombe, Alberta, which is one we've developed on the software we use, which is quite a bit more advanced and quite different. But we can discuss that. But it's different from, but we can show you how to do a basic one here today, and then how to get that one out in the public. How to, once you've made your tour, how to showcase it to the world, and then finally, if how we can help, if you have more questions, if you want to follow up, stuff like that. And so yeah, I think we're going to be moving fairly quickly today, but by the end of this, you will be able to create a virtual museum tour. Now, because we're moving fairly quickly, you might not be able to, catch everything. If you're frantically taking notes as we're going along in real time, you might not catch everything, or might need to kind of go back and rewatch some things. So what we will recommend is we'll be uploading this to YouTube. We'll be time stamping kind of every section that we talk about different stuff, and you can go back and view that at your own leisure. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely. I'm excited. I want to see this. Let's go.
oh, it was a bit of pressure because I've done a couple of run throughs on it, but let's see. Um, okay, so presumably, if you're here, you already know, at least have a grasp of what a virtual tour is. But it's a simulation composed of a sequence of 360-degree panorama images. Um, and once you chain these images together to give the sensation of walking from one spot to the next, you're able to look up, down, side to side at each stop. and then it's overlaying information on top of that. So this can be any kind of multimedia, music, narration, text, stuff like that. So yeah, that's the main thing. So what we want to be able to do is develop, find a way to create these panorama images, and then upload them, and put them together, and make them accessible from a phone or a computer. So uh, when you are viewing a virtual tour, and I'm sure everyone has done this at least once to some degree or other, you have several components of the tour. The first is the skin. Now this is the overlay. It's kind of the heads-up display of what you are of the tour, and it allows you to navigate it. It provides different information. You can see here on the right we have tour of the American Museum of Natural History, and at the top left you have like the name of the museum, the title, and a link to their website. Top right, you have a floor plan of the museum. And then at the bottom, we have the controls that allows you to view and change your view, control the view. So you can look up, down, left, right, move to the next stop, zoom in, zoom out, turn on music, that kind of thing. And then beneath that, we have hotspots. Now, hotspots is an all-encompassing kind of term for any information that is specific to overlaid on the virtual tour that is specific to a single panorama. So the skin applies to all the everything throughout the entire tour. The hotspots is specific to a single one. And the what we have here is you can see on the bottom right, we have arrows which tell you which or show you where to go to the next stop in the tour. Those are called tour nodes. And then we have above that image hotspots. So if you click on one of the, so it's a little camera. If you click on one of those, it'll bring up an image, and so you can expand it. And there's many different, there's different kinds of hotspots, all different kinds of multimedia. We'll be going into that, but just the three main things, main terms we'll be using is a skin, hotspots for the multimedia, and tour nodes, which is the directions to the, or it's like every panorama within a tour and directions to them. All right, we good so far, Ross?
Yeah, we're good so far. We definitely want to touch on what kind of equipment that people need and what we're using, because it's free for some equipment, but then obviously the quality of it changes. So yeah, so the hardware here is an important step.
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked.
It's like I'm following a plan.
Yeah. Because here we have basically you need a camera to do this, and you need there's several ways to be able to develop take your photos and make them into panoramas. And the first is the 360-degree camera. Now this is a camera where it will literally take a shot at 360 degrees all the time, and many of them do video as well, so you can kind of create 360 video, which is something we'll be exploring a bit more in the January 27th one.
And the next slide talks about the 360 camera specifically.
Yeah, we'll get into that a bit more. And then there's DSLRs. So this is just your regular camera. But what you can do is, you could use that instead to create a bunch of photos and stitch them together, or you can use your smartphone, which has panorama capability. Now, what also, so you just need to have one of these three things, and you should be able to do it. A tripod or monopod. A tripod, of course, is pretty self-explanatory. Monopod is much better for the 360 cameras. Those are optional but recommended. And then you need a computer, which you probably have if you're gonna build a tour. I don't know if you could build a tour on a phone. I wouldn't want to try because that would be fairly time consuming, I think. But it's probably possible. I would imagine. Yeah, but I just you probably want a computer. And if you have, so basically, if you have a camera and a computer, you're probably good to go. So, 360 cameras. Anyway, I picked these pictures because they just look kind of, I don't know, like cool, more exciting ways to. I mean, what we're doing, is pretty exciting in museum tours, but I mean, those also look kind of exciting too. These are 360 degree cameras. are specialized tools used by professionals. Most 360 most virtual tours are done in this manner. It's a lot easier as well, because you take one image at one stop, and you have your panorama right there. The way it works typically is that you pair it with a phone app. So you might be wondering, oh, well, how do I, get these photos or get a panorama image without me in it? Well, because if you want to take a picture of a room, you set up your 360 camera on a monopod, and you can see here, this bottom right is at the bottom right is a monopod here, as opposed to a tripod. But yeah, you set it up, and then you wonder, how can I activate the camera while running out of the room? Well, you have a phone app, and so it pairs with that. You download the app, pair it with the camera, and then so you set it up. You can set up your 360 camera in a room. You run to the other rooms because you don't want to be in the picture, and then you can just press a button on your phone, and it'll activate the camera. And then you come back, move the monopod, and so on. Yeah, these are, and so monopods as well are useful because it's say if you were to take a regular camera tripod, they take up a lot of space underneath it. So these 360 cameras really are, completely cover, like all the way down to the ground. They have, in full 360 field of view. And so if you have a tripod with, like, the legs sticking out quite a ways, they take up a lot of space in it. And so a monopod strongly recommended. They're just a lot less space occupied. But a tripod will work as well, but I just recommend a monopod, and they're kind of hard to find. I just spent like, I don't know. I went to like 4 different camera stores when I was in Calgary, and it took a while to find one. These 360 cameras, they range in price from $500 to $5,000. We have a mid-range one. We'll be upgrading this week to a top-of-the-line one, so that we can get the best results. If you want to look into this, I mean, GoPro, Insta360, and Ricoh are the main people who develop them.
We have a question.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, so how does the 360 camera work outside when there is no room for you to avoid being in the photo? Well, so what you can do is all the software, it has a pot patching capabilities. So if you take the picture, I'd recommend like walking as far away as you can to make yourself as small as possible. And then once you upload it, you can kind of patch yourself in, or sorry, patch yourself out, and that it works fairly well. Yeah, so it's fairly straightforward. I mean, but I just recommend, the further away it has like content aware backgrounds, content aware fills, so it'll kind of, the software will try and calculate what it thinks is behind you if you wash yourself out or erase yourself. And it doesn't look great most of the time, so you want to make yourself as small as possible, run away as far as you can, and then take the picture. But yeah, it's not too big a deal.
Hide behind a tree.
That's what I did in the Fort McLeod tour all the time. I just like, I'd have to run like, yeah, I don't know. I just like, I just get tired of running away from the camera and running back. Another thing too is you might have, if you want to use one of these 360 cameras, these are the best options. You might have professionals in your area. These are really popular with realtors and stuff like that. So there's generally companies everywhere that kind of do this, and it's reasonably priced. We'll be going into it later. We'll be cheaper, but if you want to get this done now and get it done professionally, that's one way to do it. All right, and DSLR cameras. Now, this one we haven't tried it yet. We will be trying it actually, to see how it goes. But what you do is you just, it's fairly self-explanatory. You just put your camera on a tripod and then spin it around and take a series of photos, and then later on you can integrate those into a panorama, stitch them together. And so there's a lot of software that allow you to do that. You just have to, just Google it. But, you could download Hugin or AutoStitch or GigaPan. You take your photos once you've taken them, and uploaded them, and it will stitch them. It will kind of stitch them together, and that should work fairly well. There might be some lines. Anyway, we'll be trying it, so we might have more information for you at the next one. Someone asked a question as well: how small of a room will a 360 camera work? I think as small as you can imagine. I don't think it needs to be a large room. You just yeah, just, as long as you can just set it up on a tripod or monopod, and leave the room, or you can even just set it up on like a table or a desk. Although wouldn't recommend that too much, but it doesn't matter how small the room is. As long as there's light, the camera will work. So yeah, we'll have more information about DSLR's cameras in the future. But in the meantime, yeah, you could give it a try if you want. But
Well,
here's
we've been sticking to the 360 camera because it's the best way to do it. It just kind of photo bombs and grabs the whole room and saves a step, right? So it's purpose built, which makes it easier for that. And the camera that we got was quite affordable. How much did we end up getting that one for?
it was about $700, I believe, or $800.
Yeah, it was about $700 or $800, and it was the basic one. So we are going to upgrade that to a better one for some of these tours. But yeah, no, it is the better way to do it. So that's why we've done that so far. But we definitely want to know about the SLR because the image quality is often better. So there's different ways and different options.
Exactly. I mean, what we're going to be one of our main focuses is going to be outdoor tours, and we find our camera it works well for indoors and like museums, like for what we're using it for right now. But we want to start doing outdoor tours, and we want those to be really high quality. So we think DSLRs might provide a really like high quality option for that. But because yeah, we find ours doesn't work great outdoors with the lighting and conditions and stuff like that. But well, we'll have to see. We also have smartphones. And so this is what I imagine most of you are here for and interested in. And this is probably the tool most of you have on hand that will allow you to develop a virtual tour, go out right after this webinar and make one yourself. Smartphones all have this capability now to create panoramas. And there's even some apps like Matterport, which is famously will allow you to build a virtual tour in the app. At base level, Apple phones have a panorama feature, as you can see in this GIF. You take a picture, or you go into panorama mode. You take a picture, and then you kind of slide it to the right, or take pictures. Chain them together in one motion, and then the software and the computer and the phone will connect, and stitch all those images together into a single panorama. For Android devices, Panorama 360 is a good app to use, and it actually is better on Apple as well. Panorama 360 has more features than Android, but than the base camera app. But yeah, and then if you want to try a different one as well, BMO Stitch is a good free option. I was playing with it a bit; it looks pretty good. If you're going to be taking these images, you want to be, especially when you're indoors, right? You want to make sure that the camera doesn't move a lot. If you're holding it out at arm's length and you spin around, you're going to be missing a big area right in the middle of the room. And also the perspective of the camera is going to change quite a bit. You want to avoid that as much as possible. So, you want to kind of spin around the phone, move your body around the phone and keep the phone in one place as far as possible. There are specialized tripods for smartphones as well, but that you could get. But I imagine most of you don't have those on hand. So just practice with it. I would recommend, and actually the results are quite good, really, for creating panoramas. The stitching, it's not 100%. This is one of the reasons why 360 camera is better. But this software is quite sophisticated. It's quite good, and it will work quite well usually. What the process we recommend here is creating all of your own panoramas, as image files, and then uploading them into the tour, rather than using a tour building app that creates, that where you create the images, the panoramas inside the tour app. You can try that. We tried it with Matterport, and it just Matterport is the most popular, kind of the gold standard of virtual tour software. And they have a phone app that allows you to create these. And we tried it out and didn't find it to be super efficient. I think it would work well, and you probably could get good results if you tried it more. But we were gonna actually make this demo today using Matterport. But what we found is that there's a lot of kind of paywalled features there, so that if say you only get 3 stops in your one free tour, and so and then they really try and push you hard into and they what's the word, watermark everything very closely and intensely. So we thought maybe we would just show you that some of the other software today as well. But if you want to try Matterport, it has some really advanced features as well, like auto generating floor plans and stuff like that. That's really cool. But anyway, you can kind of look into that later when you are choosing your own software. All right.
All
Anything
right,
else?
photography tips and file management. This is the
All right.
part of the
Yeah.
cumbersome back end part of doing this, right?
Yeah. What I would recommend is when you're actually out doing the photography, or in your museum, you want to make sure that the height is around head height. The first tours we did were around, we did them about a foot lower than that, because some YouTube video I watched recommended, like, oh, you want to have the roof and or like the top half of the room and the bottom half of the room balanced. And anyway, that didn't work. So it didn't look very good. So what you want to do is you're trying to recreate the experience of being in your museum. And so that means from around the height of the head of where you might be, where you would actually experience going through the museum. You want good lighting, and you also want to leave doors open, so that, say, if you have a tour spot through the door, you want to leave that door open, so that it's like pretty obvious that's where the tour node is, walking through the door, and it also increases the light a little bit. But the more lighting, the better, really, especially with these 360 cameras. Yeah, it's hard to overdo the lighting too much, I think. Um, Another thing to consider is, it's something we talked about in the first tour as well, is there's like free walk versus guided walking tours. So free walk tours have, like spots, you take, say, every 3 or 5 or 6 feet, or whatever, you within the museum, you take a photo, and then you make that a clickable tour node, so that people can, really have the experience of walking through the museum. Or you make it a guided walking tour where there's only a small number of stops, and they're just in front of each like exhibit or whatever. The one we'll be doing today is basically a guided walking tour, just because it's faster. um, what you want to just make sure you're doing is that every time you have a tour node, you want to plan out which other tour nodes will be accessible from that one. So if you are taking a picture and a panorama, and you're in the middle of your exhibit hall, and you want the next stop to be around the corner, well, you want to make sure that the camera can see around the corner, see the spot that you're going to have the next camera shot. So it's just important just to remember to plan it out. Um, the next, of course, is anyone who's a photographer will know this, but if you want to shoot in raw format whenever possible, it's higher quality, and it gives you more editing options. Say if you take we take our 360 shots and edit them in Lightroom afterwards, and which is something I'd also recommend. But it allows you to. It's not entirely necessary, but raw format, it gives you a lot more editing options and is just higher quality. And yeah, but that's not always possible. A lot of the time you only have JPEG options, in which case just make sure you're shooting at the highest quality possible. Don't worry too much about the space on the phone or on your device that's being taken up. Yeah, and then the next, of course, for file organization is when you've done all your photos, go through them, make sure you pick the best one for each tour node that you have planned, and name it. Give it an individual name. You'll see how helpful that is in a couple minutes. All right.
All right, let's get it. Choose the software and what the options are.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
crazy how many options and how competitive this field is. As we've been putting this together, we discovered, just kind of how many different ones there are. We were originally intending on starting this one with Matterport, but because of the paywall and those features, we decided to do this one, right?
Yeah, we want to find one that is like fulfilled our promise of, like, you can make it literally right now for free, more or less. And so we've gone through and looked at a bunch of these different free ones, and you can also go. We haven't like downloaded and tried out all of these. Most of them are cloud-based software, which means that you just access it from a website. You upload your pictures to that website, and you can do all the editing there. And then the key thing is, once you've created it there, can you export it? Because that makes a difference of who can control it. And we'll get into that a bit more later with the hosting side of things. But what we found is what I really liked Lapentor. Now, Lapentor is very powerful software, very easy to use. And it's this Vietnamese company that there don't seem to be any strings attached, really. So it allows you to export it, which means once you build the tour in here, which is easy, then you can download it and then put it on your own website. And so that means you are in control. We're doing okay for time. Let's build the tour. All right, so this is going to be the fun part. Let's see how this works. What I'm going to go through is using one of these cloud services, uploading your photos, linking the tour nodes together, then adding hotspots on top, skin features, testing, and then publishing. So let's get started. So you can all let's follow along on my screen. So what we do here, so this is Lapentor, and here's the tour I made for the Michener House Museum in Lacombe. So once you open it, we have this intro. So I'll just explain what we're looking at. We have the intro here that just comes up, and you can bring it up again. This nice little thing. Here we have these skin features. So we have this is called the scene list, where these are the different stops within the tour. You can navigate around, and the museum's logo as well. We also have the controls down here. So there's different options for how you want to do that. Up, down, left, right, full screen if you like. And then we also have a sharing widget here that we've added, which is so if I wanted to share this link or any link, so I've made it so that it shares the link to the Lacombe Museum itself, and I can post that to my Facebook if I liked it. So those are the skins. So once again, we have the scene list, controls, sharing widget, and the introduction. What we also have here are the hotspots. So we have tour nodes here, and I've just made them green, just to show you can customize how you can make them, or what color they want, or what color you'd like them to be, or shape, or whatever. And this is the first kind of hotspot we'll be looking at. It's the info blurb, so which is just a small kind of pop-up blurb of text. And we can go into the museum. We can look all around. And yeah, we have some other kinds of hotspots here, and I'll show you how to make all of these. So first we have the image hotspot. So we could make it into an image gallery, include multiple images. So this is Roland Michener's house. Roland Michener was the Governor General of Canada from 1967 to 1974, and he was born in Lacombe. And this is a tour we did. Lacombe is one of our partners, and this is a tour we shot in last August. And so I've thrown some hotspots on top, just kind of the demo of different types of hotspots, just related to Roland Michener, just as an example. Also, someone's asking, what device did you do the images with? So we use a Ricoh Theta S camera, 360 camera, and we'll be upgrading substantially shortly. So you can see here, we also have video hotspots, and we can kind of make these. There's a bunch of different options for how we can present that. You can see it's like a pop-up text that can kind of come on top of, and here's a picture of Mr. Michener being invested with the Governor Generalship. We also have some more here. So here's an interesting one. You can hear that. It's yay. All right, so that's the directional sound, and so I just put on the Maple Leaf Forever because it seems like a fairly appropriate for the setting. But you can turn it on and off, and also you see what directional sound kind of comes and goes. All right. But you could also imagine doing this with, say, audio explaining different exhibits and stuff like that. So you can imagine many different uses for directional sound. So we'll be adding that in. We also have a URL to the Canadian Encyclopedia page for Roland Michener, and also an article that's just embedded within that talks about kind of his role. Okay,
Yeah.
and we can also just jump around here. You can see with that. So,
and to answer Denise's question, you can post external links.
yeah. Sorry, wait, what? I'm just reading this. So,
yeah, with video hotspots, can you share anything from online, or do you need to be the creator of the content?
I guess it depends on the copyright. But yeah, I mean, you can share anything online. It's what we have here is an embedded YouTube link. And it's just something I pulled off of YouTube. But if you, so, but you could also, I believe, upload actual video files or just upload them to YouTube as well. Okay, so this might seem like a lot to recreate in 20 minutes, but let's take a crack at it. All right, so we go to Lapentor. And here's our tour, the Lacombe Museum. And so all you have to do is just make a free account. I just made it through my Google account. And once you don't have to put in a credit card or anything at this stage. And what we want to do is go into our account and then create a new project. We'll call this one Tour Demo. And it's pretty free and easy. We make our new project, and all right, this step might take a little bit. So one of the main things so also what you want to do is organize first, know exactly what kind of content you want to include. So what I have here is all the information that we want for the different hotspots, the link, the video link, all the intro pop-up materials. And also, so some of it is text and links. Also, some of it are just assets. So we have here all our images, which I have titled, and also assets. So these are the different types of. We have the museum logo, and so everything's kind of set aside and ready in a folder for being incorporated into it. So you just want to make sure you plan first, and make sure you are good to go. So we're ready to go. All right, and we're gonna upload all these. All right, so as you can see, when you open up a panorama, it starts very heavily zoomed in, which doesn't look great. So you wanted to zoom out a bit, and then also is facing the wrong direction. So what you do first is we're gonna start connecting all of these together, but connecting all these tour nodes together, but also changing the view to make sure that it's it's the right zoom and the right point direction that you're pointing in. And so you do that. You can click here, go set default view. Okay, and then as you can see here, we have our scene list here. We have the control buttons at the bottom will appear here. You can, if you have any questions, you can ask them. We also have, this is all our different types of hotspots. This is the main thing we'll be using right now. The first is point hotspots. These is for tour nodes. So this is what we're going to do first is just connect all these together. So you click the hotspot you want to use, which right now is we want to go to the porch. Drag it, drop it. That's where the camera was. And then you click on it. And we get the point hotspot here. Information about it, and what we want to do is tell the this panorama which panorama we'll be linking to. In which case, this is the porch. Ta-da. And then what you also want to do is change once again the default view. It's kind of it's called the initial view here. So there's kind of two kinds of views. There's kind of the default view, which is if you click on it from the hot scene list, which is the one we just set here. And then there's also the view where you can control it so that if you, depending on which hotspot you're coming from, tour node, it will aim in a different direction, in a specific direction, just so that, so if you have, say, 3 different tour nodes leading into one spot, well, you can kind of aim where it's coming from, to where you want it to be, on each of those tour nodes. Yeah. Okay. All right. So so you can go to this scene, and you see here's the default view for this one. So we'll just reset that. All right. So, and then let's leave our kind of trail of breadcrumbs going through here. The entranceway. Just make that there, and then just go save. And then go to the scene, and we're gonna make this one living room 1. So so we'll just set this default view, and then we're gonna add. Sorry, we'll add living room 1 to this one. Living room 1. And we just want to, yeah, I just like to set these both. So let's say, so like I was saying before, so I would want, perhaps, say, if I was to click on this spot from the list, the menu, I would probably want this to be the default view. However, if I'm coming at it from this spot, I kind of want to make it feel like you're walking actually through the museum, right? So I'll have it facing this way so that we can have both those options, right? So here's this. So this is the scene if I'm coming from this direction, and then this is the default view. All right. Then let's add living room 2. And we'll just go as far as living room 2. Let's take a look. So go to the scene, and we'll just set the default view here. So zoom out with obviously with your mouse roller, makes that default view. Okay. And then so it doesn't automatically generate the spots if you are linking into it from. So you kind of have to work backwards as well. So I'm gonna put living room 1 back here so that now I can access living room 1 from living room 2. And you see here's the default view that we want. Good. Save. Yeah. Okay. And we can do multiple ones per stop. So let's just add the entranceway there. And we'll have this because we're coming at it from this direction. Let's make it so that you're looking out the door that way. Okay. So how do we know this is working? Well, I hope it's working. Well, that'd be very embarrassing if it wasn't. So what we can do is this is actually already live on the internet, and it's publicly accessible from anywhere. If you were to go right now to this link, you could visit our tour demo. So let's take a look at it. So you can either share it on here, or let's take a look here for testing. For some reason, that doesn't seem to work, the copy button, but let's just go here. All right. Here's our basic tour. Porch, entranceway, living room 1, living room 2, and all right, so far so good. Maybe change that one, zoom out a bit more, but yeah. So you can see we've linked all these together so far. Now, obviously, what I would do in an actual, if we were doing this practically, we'd have more spots around so that you have more options to, walk around with. And it takes a little while, obviously, to map these out. I mean, this is a very small museum. It also goes upstairs. But say, and this museum, we probably had about 20 or 25 panoramas total in this museum, I'd say. But say we did so quite a bit more than we're showing right now. But we also did say we've done the Fort Museum in Fort McLeod. It had 150 different spots. So when you're linking all those together, it takes a little while to lay it out. I'll just answer a couple more questions. Is there a size limit for the file for a tour? I don't think so. And I do not think there are any size limits. I'd be surprised if there was. I mean,
I think that might depend on the software. Some of them will probably have it, some of them may have it, some of them may not. But generally speaking, the larger the file, the better the quality. And many of these ones want to have good quality. if anything, they may pare it down or drop the resolution once it's been uploaded, for the virtual tour. But I think it's a case by case basis with different softwares.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And is there a tutorial? I mean, they have most of these softwares. If you go on, they have YouTube channels where they do more advanced tutorials on, how to do a museum. But they'll be like much more expansive on a very specific subjects and stuff. So you kind of have to wade through them a bit. But I hope this tutorial also serves. Okay, so one other thing you notice here is like the tour nodes are green in our tour. And they're orange here. Now we thought these is, if you hover over it, you can see the name and stuff. But I think these, on this carpet, it's not super obvious, right? What the color is. So we say it's like red. So what we want to do is we can customize these icons. Now, there's two ways to do it. You can do specific icons for specific stops, just by clicking on it. We have here's our hotspot information, and we just go upload here, and upload assets. So these are all the dependent files that we want to use for the tour. Now, what we have here is, I did a red one first, which was kind of foolish because the carpet's red. And anyway, so we've just picked a green one. So you just go upload there and choose file, and there it is. Ta-da! All right. Now, it's also here's the monopod. You'll notice. So you want to kind of typically like you want to that we were talking about earlier, right? Because if you're to have a tripod, it takes up like much more area, and you also have that the sort of arm that sticks out quite a ways. So this is why monopod's a good idea. Just while we're there. But anyway, so yeah, we've changed one of these, but let's say you want to change them all. Well, so let's squeeze us into these. These are the skin plugins. And it's called Power Up. For some reason, they call it that, but that's basically what they're skin plugins. And these are many different pre-designed kind of features that allow you to customize and add new stuff to your project. So let's take a look at. So we have these are the ones at the bottom are the ones we're using right now. There's all the default stuff. So the default control bar, the default scene list, which is this one, and the default buttons. What we can just do here is we can just click on it and just go configure, and we can customize them. So if I want to change all the point hotspot icons, we just do the same thing. Save. Yeah, pretty straightforward. There you go. So they're all that. We can also make it one other thing. You can make it bigger if you want. Whoops, not that. Here's the size of the hotspot. You can also put a password on the hotspot. I don't know why you'd want to do that unless maybe some kind of scavenger hunt where you unlock it. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, but that looks silly. So I'll just bring that back down.
Well, that's just another example to show you how versatile this is and how many different things you can do with it, right?
Yeah, just even at this very basic level, like the stuff, like the software we use is quite a bit different and quite a bit more advanced. But even at this very basic software, there's a pretty impressive array of options that you have. Okay, so and also here's our live demo. See, it's already updated. Yay! So okay, so next let's go back to the outside. Or actually on this tour. Now let's start talking about the hotspots. So we'll be going through these one by one. Once you kind of get the gist of it, it's all pretty each type is fairly self-explanatory, but so we'll run through them fairly quickly. But let's start with the info hotspot. The missioner house was built in. All right, so let's add that. So what we're gonna do is you can exit out of here, and then it gives you your. I want to put this hotspot in the outside one. So we'll just go there. And then, you can see also once you change the icon, it changes the icon here. So we're going to pick info hotspot. Ta-da. Drag and drop that there. Click on it. It's called text F for some reason. We'll call this Missioner House Museum. And let's see if I actually wrote any text to go there. Yes, I did. All right, good. So here's the text we want to put there. Just copy it in. You can see you can, I don't know, format it however you like. Also, how wide do you want this the pop-up to be? If you don't set this, it just kind of extends all the way out to the sides. So I'll just put that 400. There we go. Save. Let's take a look. Yay! So it's there already. Ta-da! Okay. Next we have the so we can exit that. Let's see what's next on my list. Let's add let's add all the other ones here. So we'll just go through the list. First is an article. Let's do an article one. Democratizing the office. Drop that here. I don't know, why not? Or let's put it there. So you want to give it a title because it just says article otherwise. So we'll just put that. And then we're just gonna copy. So we'll call this one democratizing for the label. And then just copy that there. We can get rid of that. Save. Let's take a look. Refresh. Let's go to living room 2. Oh, there it is. See? Pretty easy. All right. So far, so good. Next is let's do a link to the Canadian Encyclopedia. So let's add that here.
We'll answer a question real quick.
Oh, yeah, sure.
The question is if this can be edited once it's already updated, and the answer for that is definitely yes. It depends on the software, but I'm pretty sure all of them will allow you to kind of make changes as you go along.
Yeah. So there's because we'll kind of get into that a bit more afterwards, but in terms of publishing, but once you've published it, either if you have it on the cloud software, then then yes, of course you can just go back and edit however you want, whenever you want. But if you want to avoid paying for the hosting fees, then you just then you download it, export it, then I'm not sure. I probably would not be able to edit it at that point, but you could probably go back, and reactivate that tour for anyway. It would be very cheap, but I mean, we're all talking like very small amounts of money here. But wait, where was I? Yeah, okay. So all right, so URL link. Oh, and sorry, what is the file size of the tour? I believe this one's actually because when you download it, it brings in all the dependent files as well. So all the stuff that makes the tour actually work. And so this one is about 150 megabytes as well. So it's not super large, but it's fairly. It's not insignificant. It's more than just the images themselves. There's a bit of software that has to come with it. All right. So let's add the URL. We'll call this one Canadian Encyclopedia of Roland Michener. And we'll just keep picking that wrong one. Copy this over. And once again, for each of these hotspots, you have specific kinds of options. This one's embedded. Yes. So I imagine now you're starting to get the gist of how this all works. Let's just run through the other ones. So we have next the video link. So the video link is just a direct link to YouTube. Let's add that here. Once again, we'll make this new Governor General. And we can change, so full screen pop-up, small window. Sure. Or actually, let's do small window. And we can customize the height. I don't know. Let's do like 800 pixels, make it kind of bigger. And we'll put it at center bottom. Sure. Save. All right. And we'll just test. We'll do. All right. Well, here, let's test these and see how we're doing so far. If I've screwed up. So we have the article we checked. All right. Embedded link. You can also make it so that it'll open a new web page. And video. Okay, so I kind of, because I made it super wide and not, anyway, so I kind of cut it off a bit, but you can make it whatever dimensions you like. but it works in principle. Okay. Next, we have an image and directional sound. Now, these two are saved files. You just have to look at, so you just have to look at like what, does it ask you to upload or put in a link? So for an image, I'll put that one there. And we'll call this, so you can give the label to it. So we'll just put Roland Commissioner Portrait. And we'll also make that the caption when you click on it. And you can also make it clicking on the image will open a URL. So we'll just go to upload that. So it's asked me to upload an image. So I've got one ready. Here's a portrait of him. Choose file. All right, save. And the directional sound one. Also, we could do different themes. Fancy Box is kind of like, I don't know, it's a pretty standard one for looking at the internet. Many different, like a gallery photos on the internet. You definitely used it before. Directional sound. So it says choose audio. So it just means you have to upload it. So because it's like a slightly bigger file, it takes a second, but it works. Or it ought to work. We also, it's really loud. I know Justin was complaining that it was like super loud when you put it on, so you just want to make it really quiet. Also, you can change the range. I had noticed this before. So say how closely do you have to be aiming at it for the music to be playing? Do you want it to autoplay, or do you want it to loop? Do you want it to pause, or what do you want to happen when you pause it or click on it? And yeah, let's just make that one really big. Sure, why not? Now let's see how we're doing here. It works. And of course,
Kind of like you've been practicing.
well, yeah, like I
I'm just
started using the software only like 3 days ago, so it's like it's fairly straightforward. Okay, so those are all the different types of hotspots. We've got it and we did it. What we want to do now is now all this kind of skin stuff. So we have the control panel, our this here, and our sharing buttons, and the info stuff. Okay. As you can see right now, basically we have nothing here. But just the auto scene. The controls are haven't been showing up a little bit, but they do show up after a while. So I know on the like anyway, they might not work this time around, but they do work. You just have to keep refreshing it. Anyway, okay, so let's go to. Well, let's just go back to the start. You can do it from wherever, but let's just start from the beginning. Okay. Now, let's start with the scene list. So, as you see, we have we want these all to show like those that list on the side, like the one we were looking at. And there's many different options. Well, 6 different options, not a huge number, but it gives you some flexibility. So we're going to change it from that basic one to the wall. It's called for some reason, and then you can change the settings. So you just click on it and go config. We'll just make it left. Minimize its start. No, we'll leave it on. Do we want to style it? Probably light is appropriate. Don't need a featured color, although you probably would if you match your museum's branding and everything. And then we want a logo to go at the top. So it says upload logo. So we just happen to have a logo. You want a PNG probably because it has a transparent background instead of a JPEG file. So it looks kind of squished there, but it should work. So let's go save and preview. How easy was that? Very easy. Yeah, see, we're almost done. Then what we want to do is next is the control bar. Now, like I said, this has been a bit. We had different options for the control bar. And this one is so electric. Let's make electric flash. minimize on start. No, we don't want that. Let's see. Does it work? It will work after a bit. I got it. It does work, but for some reason, it wasn't coming up when I was trying it this morning. So let's try. So we've updated this one. Let's take a look at the updated one. Yeah. Anyway, the control bar is kind of like boring too. Anyway, I never use it because you just want to click around. But anyway, that will work. And that's all you have to do to get it up. And then let's put in the social sharing link. So what we want to do is if someone will put those sharing buttons in the bottom, and if someone presses share, we want them to go to the we want them to share the link to not the tour itself, which is the default, but let's make it the Lacombe Museum's website. So so as you can see here, and there's many different options here that I would recommend you know, try out. Gallery, custom code, you know, copyright, all this kinds of stuff. But we don't have time to go into all those today. So here we just added that one. Share URL. We'll just put it at the museum. Then we can customize all the icons, colors, and everything like that. Don't have to mess with that right now. Take a look. Refresh. Okay, that's kind of getting annoying now. Yeah, we'll go here. Also, another thing too is like, so you see, I've moved to. This is going back to the hotspots, but one thing I should mention is we've moved back to living room 1. The hotspots we just put in are not on this one. You have to just like you do with all the tour nodes at each stop, you kind of have to re-enter them if you want those different hotspots to be visible and available from different parts of the tour. Yeah. I think say like Matterport, for instance, I think you can actually. it does increase this 3D model and detects them all, but yeah.
But again, each software is different. Right?
Yeah, there's many different options you have. Yeah. Well, let's try auto transition. This one's kind of, I don't know. I mean, this is just a nice, easy way to like kind of improve it. What it does is it just kind of makes it slowly pan when you're looking at it. Here, we can just put auto rotate and auto change scene. So. So if you're, so it just kind of gives it a nice, as you can see, see, it's starting to rotate there, and then after 10 seconds, it'll change the scene. Yeah, so that works. And then, neat, eh? And then finally, yeah, we're just about done. Let's just add in the intro pop-up. So intro pop-up, configure. And so what we have here is, you know, how do we want it to come up? I pick circle at the beginning, start on in it. So like, will it show up when you open it? And then let's put welcome to the Missioner House Museum. We can pick a font for the title. You know, wow, there's a lot of fonts actually. It's quite an impressive number of fonts, really. No, that's not a good font. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There we go. And then we'll copy in some stuff that we wrote for that. And all right. So as you can see, all right. So it took 36 minutes to make this tour from scratch. Once we had everything prepared. But as you can see, it is done. It is on the internet right now. And yeah, the only thing is the control bar. That'll control bar will come back. You just have to play with it. It works. It's just I'm not sure what the issue is. Okay, so we're done. So now what do we want to do? We want to share it, right? We want to figure out a way to get our tour out to the public. Well, for starters, so we'll just go back here. And we can get rid of this one and this one. Let's go back to the Lapentor site. So what we have here is our dashboard with our different options. You can edit it, so we can always go back and edit it. Here's the live view, so that's the link to it. So you can just go ahead and share that link with people. There's no watermarks or anything. It's pretty nice. It's all available. Or we can export it. Now, so basically, this brings us back into publishing. So when you like, basically, you just leave it on here, and it should work. Yeah, no, it does work. Or you can export it, which is what I would recommend because they can. Oof. you want to be able to export it, because then you can host it yourself. You can control that information. And but just to export it here, there's just a one-time cost of $10. So I know I said it was free. It is free if you don't do this, but I would recommend exporting it. Then you can host it on your own server. So so now that we're done here, see, it's because it keeps auto transitioning. It keeps on. It kind of keeps transitioning back to that one. All right. So so I'll just get a bit more into publishing and these final steps. So I hope everyone understood that part of it, and I hope that was useful. All right. So let's just wrap this up with publishing. Can a tour be posted to Facebook? Absolutely. Yeah. No. Yeah. That's no problem. Posting it to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's a link, so you can post it anywhere and customize it how you want, and integrate it into other, whatever kind of website you have, post on, or what, or on the on the spot platform. So going back to most of these services that we've looked at, most of these free services, pretty much all of them are cloud-based, which means they have a website. You upload your data to it. Use their they do the computing power where with their kind of software to create everything that the tour like we just created, and then it's hosted on their server. Now, hosting it on their server typically costs money. I know for these guys long term, it's $12 a month. But you can host as many projects as you like. And of course, they control the content. I mean, this might not be so important to a lot of people. But for us, for instance, at On the Spot, we want to be able to kind of control our content, so we don't, because we're going to be adding many different virtual museums, and we want to make sure that we can make sure they're featured just how they like. So that's important to us, but might not be to you. The other option you have is server based, so which is you're basically hosting it yourself, which is probably, well, okay, I guess this is, I know Chris is gonna be mad at me because server based is not the right word, but
He's not
basically
listening.
it's actually basically, if you have a website, then you can export that tour that we just designed for $10 one time, and then you control it. And so that means you can take the series of files. Yeah, there'll be about 100 megabytes, something like that, and upload them to your own server. Which could be if you have a WordPress site, if you have any kind of website, you can just drop it on there. Yeah, and it requires a little bit of technical knowledge generally to be able to make those files accessible as a virtual tour on your stuff. But it's it's pretty much, it doesn't cost you anything on top of what you're already paying for your website or what you already have. If you have a free WordPress site, you can just put it on there, or if you have your own kind of in-house server, which I guess is a bit more rare than I probably would have thought. Yeah. But the idea is, yeah, you can export it, do with it what you want, or you can just, as someone asked, you can have it offline, just have it on your on a computer in your museum, and people can go through it there, if they'd like to. Also, there's we can host it for you, and we'll be offering that feature for super cheap. We're still kind of working out exactly how we're going to do it. But it's going to be cheaper than just like a nominal, I think. And yeah, if you design a tour, we can do the rest. Alternatively, basically, if you want to bring us in at any step of the process, so if you've done the photography but you want us to build the tour, and we can do a much more advanced one than this, which we'll be getting into next time, we can do that for you. You can send us all the hotspot information, that kind of thing. We can do that for you. Also, or we could even come out and do the photography for you. It's really up to you what you want, and we're kind of going to be building out that sort of how exactly that's going to work in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. What we're
Yeah.
trying to do, to answer Joe's question, is try to make this free through possibly like advertising options or something like that. I'll give you a call after and we'll talk about that. But we want to make and help everyone to kind of raise their profile, get these tours online. So hence why we're doing these sort of things. And it is possible for us to kind of do for free, but we got to be able to do it in a way that's sustainable. I'm working on the details right now for that. So in the next tour on part 3, I'll talk more about pricing options, and what we do, and what the free advertising that we're about to drop to mention here is will include, and we can get into those details. But yeah, we're still working those out.
Yeah, but shouldn't take long. Yeah, yeah. Like, so these are all ones we've kind of got them up now, but we're kind of refining the skin for ours. So we're not really promoting them yet, but once we get like a really nice kind of improved skin, we're kind of designing it from the ground up. We want to make the best possible skin, and we're going to keep improving it as well over time, so that just like how when we build a an app or sorry, a city in our app, we build all the content. Over time, we keep adding features to the app, and it keeps improving the housing for that content. And we're going to be trying to do the same with the virtual museum tours as well. Once we have that content, we can kind of continually improve the housing for all of them the housing, for it as we go forward for all of them at the same time. Yeah. All right. Well, I think. Oh, right. Another thing too is so what we also do is we have free museum listings. So if
the idea, as discussed, is we want to kind of raise the profile for all museums, and we want to encourage people to visit museums and to promote historical literacy. So a big part of that, what we decided, was to create free museum listings, so that even if we don't have coverage in your city or your area, we have users that are downloading our app all over the place, including areas that we don't have coverage. So for those users, the idea for us is that when they open up the app, they can explore all kinds of cities, but when they hit the nearby options, it'll show them the museum that's closest to them. So even if you're not in, and we don't have coverage for you yet, we're working on that, or kind of whatever the case may be. If there's a user that's within 50 miles of you, or whatever kind of distance we're putting, then your museum will pop up on the top of the list. And we're just working out on the best ways to do that, to encourage people to visit the museums. And so we have the link here, which will be an email that we'll send out following this presentation about the free museum. So you just go in, fill out the profile, upload the image of your logo or your museum's front door to show people what to look for. And then you can see at some point soon, we'll contact you and let you know when the when the museum is in the app, and show you what your ad looks like, and then discuss how we can improve upon that, including virtual tours and stuff like that. But those are more things that we'll talk about in the next presentation.
Yeah, like if you have a virtual tour, we integrate that directly into the listing, and so we're trying to like just pull everything together into a one-stop shop for history. Yay.
Yeah.
And then we'll be talking about this next time, but outdoor tours, and this is something we're pretty excited about because it really opens up the possibilities of different types of history we're doing, and different types of material we can present, and not beyond just like basically what our focus has necessarily been because of the photos available, which is basically like white settler history from 1880s to the 1950s roughly. We want to really expand beyond that, obviously, into indigenous history, as well as and downtown urban design, stuff like that. And we can really do that with these virtual tours that'll be outdoor with that really high quality, and we can incorporate all these different kinds of hotspots and information.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope that was helpful. No, go out, you can get started right now after this, and have your own virtual tour up on by the end of the day. And you could probably make it a lot even better than the one we just built. We'd love, if you can make a tour, we'd love to hear about it, and incorporate it, put it on our app and stuff. And if you have any questions or follow-up questions, need advice or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out.